Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Less than 3 months, voters in Kogi State, north central Nigeria, will go to the polls to elect a new governor. The forthcoming election obviously has a lot riding on it, particularly for workers in that state, given the widely acclaimed unenviable record of the incumbent governor in terms of the payment of staff salaries and welfare. But what stands out in the build-up to that crucial election seems to be the rivalry between two prominent political figures in Kogi State, Senator Dino Melaye and Senator Smart Adeyemi. Critically, the bone of contention here is not the governorship position, but a matter closer to home in the shape of who goes to represent Kogi West District in the Senate. Until Friday last week, Dino Melaye was the incumbent before an election petition tribunal nullified his mandate. A rerun is now expected. For a conversation on all of this and more, we are now being joined by Senator Smart Adeyemi, who has served one term in the Senate on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, but is now standing to win the same Senate seat for the All Progressives Congress. He was former president of the Nigerian Union of Journalists. Welcome to the program, Senator Smart Adeyemi. Good to have you on the morning show.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you, Dr. Ruben Abati.
Yes, good morning. Well, I don't know whether, it's time yet to either congratulate you or commiserate with you, but at least you've been able to succeed.
You can go ahead to congratulate me.
You've been able to succeed, with your petition.
Go ahead to congratulate me.
No, I'm not partisan. I have to be neutral. Until we see the end of the process. The election petition tribunal has found in your favor and has ruled that another election, Kogi West Senatorial District, should be conducted within 90 days. Now, how do you feel? Are you optimistic that, when that rerun takes place, you'll be able to secure the victory that you're looking for?
Well, I'm not in doubt that we're going to win the rerun, because more than ever before, Nigerians are getting more educated, they are getting more enlightened to assess those whom they have elected. Don't forget, I had the privilege of serving them for 2 terms, for 8 years, and I represented my people with dignity, with honor, and I equally did all I can to contribute to the well-being of my constituents. And I'm sure that when we go back to the pool, we don't have to speak too much grammar. Our antecedent speaks for us. What I have done, they are standing in terms of education, in terms of community development, in terms of empowerment. If you permit me to mention some few of those things. When I was in the Senate, I went to the United States on one of my trips, and I brought in 22 ambulances to enhance health care delivery for my constituents. And virtually in every district, you have these ambulances still operating. I brought in 550 beds and mattresses. I gave out over 200 vehicles to empower my people to be able to run around and make ends meet. I gave scholarship award to over 2,000 students in tertiary institutions. I provided not less than 80 boreholes. I built about 4 hospitals, cottage hospitals. I built market stores between 30, 40, 150. These things are variable. They are things you can investigate. And I can't face a live television, an international organization like yours and come and tell us. So these things are there, and the people cannot compare, in my area, they always say, look, we have tested water and oil. We now know the difference. So in today's politics, you don't blow too much grammar. Your antecedent speaks for you. So there's no doubt about
Senator Adeyemi, in his reaction to the ruling of the election petition tribunal, Senator Dino Melaye, your rival, your political rival, immediately granted an interview to the media, and he said, well, that Senator Adeyemi is his political wife. What he means by that is that he has consistently beaten you at the polls, and that in any case, he's going to appeal the judgment of the tribunal. What do you say to all of this?
Well, he was said to have defeated me in 2015, but those who actually knew all that happened can attest to the fact that he never won any election. Okay, he thought it going to work again this time around. We went to tribunal, but that is all history, because the judge that handled that case You may try to find out where she is now. I'm sure she paid the price because we went to the NJC. But I wouldn't want to go into that. Okay, so he thought it's going to be the same story this year, and they manipulated the system. Like I said in quite a number of interviews I've granted, we went for the poll as usual. About 2 weeks before the election, Dino went to the Federal High Court and filed a petition. What was the petition about? Asking the Federal High Court to compel INEC to collate results in Kaba. Kaba is the senatorial headquarters of Kogi West. And I was told that Dino went to court. And I was smiling. I said, for what purpose will he go to court, compelling INEC to do what is constitutional right to do? I mean, it doesn't make sense for me to challenge that. So he was in court, and the Federal High Court invited INEC and his own lawyers. And at the end of the story, the Federal High Court ruled that INEC must collate in Kaba, the senatorial headquarters. So after the election, I had a copy of the judgment. So after the election, I went to Kaba with my coordinators and party supporters. We waited for over 8 hours, only to be told that Dino was seen around with INEC staff and that they took the second route and went to Lokoja and collated and announced the results. At the end of the day, we were wondering, how would they announce the result without us being there? So we investigated. We went to Lokoja. Please give us a copy of the result. No, there was no result. 2-3 days after, they now gave us a document which they claim was the result. And as God will have it, I have a copy here. One Professor Abdullahi Emmanuel Bala hereby satisfied that as the returning officer, that the senatorial election that took place on 25th, the election took place on 23rd. And quite a number of the results they gave to us, which they claim emanated for this local government areas, they bear different dates. So what happened? They were just called to perfect those documents. You know, in Nigerian politics, at times when you are too righteous, you become like a foolish man. Because, I mean, we just felt we should obey the court judgment, and we stood in Kaba, okay? And this explains why you see some people go to the extreme and become very violent in elections. When you are obeying the law, what the law says, and you see somebody who will not care about the law. So they went ahead to collate in Lokoja, and it is now history that it was manipulated. So we waited. The election was not done. Contrary to the provision of both the Electoral Act and the court order that Dino himself went to court to seek that it should be done in Kaba. They took the thing and went back road. You're asking questions. How come? If I had won the election, they would have gone to court. But by the time we look at the result, it was amazing. So we said, okay, no problem, no violence. Let us take the procedure. We're educated people, we're enlightened people, and we are men of God who believe that all men will face the judgment of Almighty God. So, so no problem. We don't need to shed blood.
Senator Adeyemi, unfortunately, though, we just continue to play politics with people's lives. Now, you mentioned some of your achievements as senator, achievements in terms of sustainability, but sustainability really and truly should only ever start to come with policy. I will use Rwanda as a case study. After the genocide, Rwanda had to implement certain policies because of the ratio of men to women in the country, for example. For example, in certain fields, X amount of women had to be implemented into that sector. They used all of this to become Africa's #1 developing economy of today, which goes to show that it doesn't come down to handouts and what we can do in little ways for our people, but what we are doing in terms of policy. As a senator, you're at the forefront of policy. So as a senator, what policies have you put into place for the people of the Kogi West senatorial districts that have had an impact directly on their lives, and a sustainable one too?
I think you should know that as a senator, you are not in the position to make laws for your senatorial district. We make law for the federal government, for the federation. So in essence, I may not really be involved. The laws we make or the bills that we pass are bills that will enhance the overall development of the nation. So you cannot be specific. And don't forget that norms and values differ, demands differ across the country. So what we can do as legislators is just to give support to whatever the state government are doing. And don't forget that as legislators, we are not executives. We are not elected to construct roads. We are not elected to build hospitals. Whatever we are doing is just to complement the effort of the other tiers of government. So that's the vision of labor. That's the check and balances. Okay. So legislators are lawmakers. We are not executives. So you may not really be right to ask as to what effort have been made in terms of putting policies in place. No, I can't put any policy in place. I can only put a policy in place for the overall development and well-being of Nigerians as a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Well, Senator Adeyemi, let's move away from your matter with Dino Melaye and talk about the governor of Kogi State, who has become the poster boy in many of, of the analysis that we have seen for non-performance. And, he's often referred to as a young man who has not been able to prove the point that young people can make a difference. That's the public perception. You are from Kogi State. What's your assessment? Do you think that he has been fair, not paying salaries of civil servants? Or is your friend because he's, quote unquote, the enemy of your enemy? And do you think he deserves a second time?
Well, I want to object to the fact that he has not performed. It depends on the way you look at Kogi State and what you have been reading. I'm not in doubt that there's a lot of misconceptions and misrepresentations about Kogi State. And for somebody like me, you know my background. I'm not going to support a non-performer. I'm not going to support somebody who lacks vision. Yahaya Bello is a man who is committed to the well-being of our people. He came as a governor by the wish of the Almighty God. And I can tell you that when he came, he inherited a lot of problems. As at last week, I was still discussing with him some of the debt they are paying, but that is not the issue. Has he performed? Yes, he has performed. He had problems of paying salary, like quite a number of many states of the Federation. So we cannot assess him from the fact that salary has not been paid, it means he has not performed. No. I do know that they did their best in meeting up the needs of workers. On quite a number of times, we had to sit down and discuss the problem of non-payment of salaries. Okay, there are a lot of problems that I inherited. Let me tell you this. I was in PDP before, and I stand to be quoted. There was a time people were asking for names of friends, of children, of the so-called VIPs in Kogi State, highly placed people, and some of the former officials of government, including names of their brothers and sisters. People who are not based in Kogi State. They were taking salaries. So at the time, it became a problem. Nobody could actually give you the actual figure, the strength of Kogi workers, because many people came in with fake names, and they were drawing salaries, okay? And at that time, I knew about it.
Senator
so when
Adeyemi,
they came, they had that problem.
Adeyemi,
Most of the noise you see today were...
We need to take a short break. And then when we return, you can continue with that contribution. Still with us is Senator Smart Adeyemi of Kogi West Senatorial District in our Abuja studio. And you are still watching The Morning Show here on the Arise News channel. Now, Senator Adeyemi, before we went on break, you were talking about the performance of the Kogi State Governor, Yahaya Bello, and the issue about the payment or non-payment of staff salaries and the existence on the payroll of ghosts who are related to important people.
Workers. Yeah, I did say that there were a lot of, in their thousands, ghost workers, which of course I'm sure the government is still investigating some of them. Now let me go to the specific areas of achievement of this government to erase the misconception and misrepresentation. I know my governor and in my state have not been receiving good media reports. I must confess this. But let me be specific to you. I come from Kogi West Senatorial District. And I can tell you that we actually had a good share so far from the government. Now, the Secretary to Government of that state is from my Senatorial District. The Commissioner of Finance is from my place. The Commissioner of Agriculture, and a host of others. We've never had some of this position before. Now, let me equally tell you that the second largest rice mill in Nigeria is located now in my Senatorial District under Yahaya Bello. He built it from the scratch. It's about 4 billion naira project. And we are saying that he has not done well. Now this rice mill is due for commission. When it's commissioned, not less than 4,000 to 5,000 workers will be at that rice mill. Okay, we have quite a number of roads under construction. There's a J-Gate, if you look at Tun Road to Ekenade Road under construction. We have the other roads across other senatorial districts. We have in the east, we have the government constructing Ampa Ohakwu Road. They are constructing the Dekina Township Road as I speak to you. That has been completed. In Ampa, they are currently doing some road project. In Okene, the Obangede Road, cutting across 3 local government areas, about 40-something kilometers of road has been constructed by the same administration. You have the Hima Road network, Obehira to Adavi Road is under construction, all under Yahaya Bello. The Ohinoi Palace Road junction is being handled by this government. It has been completed in the Central District. You have quite a number of them, Ajaka to Ida. These are roads that have not been done before.
Okay, but okay, that's fine,
there are quite a number of things this government is doing. Just a minute, that have not been done before. Is backing on electrification of about 300 communities in the East Central District. They've never had electricity since the kingdom came. Now, what I'm trying to tell you is that there are quite a number of projects that this government has embarked upon and executed. So when people give you the other side, you see, when you want to assess a government, it depends on the perspective at which you are looking at it. It's like you assess whether a glass of water is half filled or half empty. Depending on the perception.
It's about how the people really want to assess the government as well. It's about how the citizenry wants to assess the government. And it usually comes down to indices of human development, such as education, such as healthcare. So let's speak about education for a minute. What was the standard of education across the states in terms of many indices from gender into enrollment before Yahaya Bello came into government? And what is the standard of education that we're looking at today? Has there been an increase in enrollment? If so, by how much? Has the gender gap in education closed? If so, by how much? These are the indices that can really help us to determine whether or not a governor has really and truly had a great impact on his people.
Well, I was invited just about yesterday night to come for this program. So I'm not the spokesman of the government. But let me just tell you from what I know. They've built quite a number of schools, buildings. They have employed more teachers. And I can equally tell you that they have improved the well-being of quite a number of these, the masses you're talking about. Okay? I'm not saying that not paying salary is good. It's not only Kogi State government. But today, the issue of not paying salary is not a thing of the past. They have paid virtually all the workers in the state. They are not owing any worker any longer. I'm saying this authoritatively. Okay? So when people want to pull down the government, they don't look at those good things they have done. There's no government that is perfect. But I can tell you that this government in Kogi State is far better than all the previous administration we have had. Because I can see things myself. And I can tell you because my people believe in me, they know I'm committed to their well-being. And if the government is not having the vision to improve their well-being, I'm not going to support this administration. I can see that they are determined and they are doing the best they can. Well, don't forget that Kogi State is one of the largest states in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Our state is more than about 10 states in terms of landmarks, in terms of population. Kogi State is one of the biggest states in Nigeria. So you must take all those things into consideration. But I can tell you, in proper analysis of what they have done, they are focused on the well-being of the people to build strong political and economic institutions so that the state can be prosperous. They have united the state.
I would like to interrupt you here. I think at the end of the day, it's the people of Kogi State who will decide one way or the other when the state goes to the polls to elect a governor for the next 4 years. Obviously, from the way you have spoken, your political rival, who says he's going to the appeal court, is also running for governor of Kogi State on the platform of PDP. Obviously, you are not likely to support him. Even if you support him, it probably makes it easier for you to go to the Senate.
Dr. Abati, in a democratic society, anybody can aspire for any position. Okay, anybody can hold an opinion, but your opinion may not be the fact. Your fact depends on so many factors. It must be acceptable to other people by you providing the evidence that you are good. So for somebody to say he wants to run to an election, there's quite a number of people collect forms so that their name will be heard, so that they can be celebrated. I have seen people introduce themselves as former gubernatorial aspirants, former senatorial aspirant. It's not credentials of Nigerians, okay? So people go abroad and carry and flag those things out in order to siphon money. Tell people I'm running for election, I'm going to change things. These are people who have not provided one single borehole for their community. These are people that are unknown. You know, you have big people. You have quite a number of Nigerians that are popular in the cities, popular or they are known to be notorious, okay? But they will tell you they are done well. The people appreciate them.
But Senator,
that is not true.
Senator,
when
this is
we
the
get to
problem with playing politics with people's lives.
After this election,
this is the problem with playing
after the election,
I
want to come back here because I'm sure that Yahaya Bello will win the election.
Senator,
so I will come back to tell you that we have won the election.
Senator,
yes,
Senator,
please.
why is it that it is okay for our politicians to consistently think that we politicize certain things such as access to clean water? We praise the amounts of boreholes that we're giving to communities that hadn't seen clean water until that person took a selfish interest of their own elections. Senator, I'm saying this as a citizen because citizens are aggrieved, and if no one is going to stand up for them, who is? It's one thing for us to praise our achievements, Senator, but really and truly in the face of sustainable development, sir, what is this really doing? Or are we just continuing to play politics with people's lives here?
I don't think that is applicable to Kogi State. As I speak today, the state government is embarking on borehole provision to some very remote areas. Like I told you, Kogi State is one of the largest states. The landmarks of Kogi State is more than about 4 states put together in this country that I know. So you can have an idea. And the communities are scattered. So as I speak now, they are embarking on about 100 boreholes to extreme remote areas where there are no dams and they have to be provided for. These are things that have never been done before. We have had our state created many years ago, but in years past, there are communities that do not even know that there is a new state. There are areas in Kogi State they still hold the view that probably they're still in Old Kwara or Old Benue. This is the problem. And don't forget that Kogi State is a state that is so large to a point that at times you ask yourself, those who created this state, what was the criteria of creating state in Nigeria? The military boys didn't take many things into consideration.
What's the criteria of holding states now?
The challenges.
What's the criteria of holding states now? Because really and truly, if the citizens are not feeling the impact of the elections that we hold, then what's the criteria of holding states now? Our elections are not free, fair, and credible.
The democracy is just getting institutionalized properly in Nigeria. A time will come, states will determine, people will determine how they want to be governed, where they want to be governed. Okay? States are not supposed to be equal, I hope you know. But when you are creating states, there's so many factors to take into consideration. Norms, value, linguistic, how homogeneous they are. Okay? You must take many things into consideration when you are creating states. But the military boys didn't do that. Kogi State is one of the largest states in Nigeria. We have the Kogi State landmarks and population. It's far more than about 8-9 states put together. The landmarks of Kogi State is more than some 4 states together. So there are many challenges this government is facing. But being that it may, I hold the view that they have performed far better than previous administration that I was somehow involved because I served in the government.
Let's move away from the politics of Kogi State. Let's leave politics of Kogi State, either the state itself or Kogi West, and talk about something else. You were a senator of the Federal Republic. Now, lately, we've been having a lot of problems with the image of Nigeria in terms of how Nigerians in diaspora behave. First, we had in Nuremberg, Germany, where Deputy Senate President Ike Kuremadu was attacked, and that raised a lot of concern. And then, of course, after that, again, diaspora Nigerians, we had reports about 77 of them being arrested by the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the United States for online fraud. Now, if it is not fraud, if it is not physical assault on leaders, then it could be violence against Nigerians in some parts of Africa, as we have had in South Africa, where quite a number of Nigerians have been victims of violent attacks and assassination. Now, what can we do to address all of this, and address particularly in terms of the implications for the image of Nigeria?
Well, I think the first thing we need to appreciate is that our country is a nation that is, until of recent, running a kind of a confused system. You can hardly come out to define whether Nigeria is a unitary state or is a federating state as a nation. Now, this has been the bone of contention in the distribution of social amenities and the sharing of the national cake. But thank God that President Muhammadu Buhari came out with a gradual restructuring of Nigeria. Today, local government can get their allocation directly. What is the implication of that? It means whatever is allocated for the local government can get down and they can improve the well-being of the people. The problem emanated as a result of Nigerians getting frustrated in the nation, thinking that there's no future, okay? So people start running out of the country. It's really unfortunate that we're going through this. But I can tell you that the solution to our problem is to look at the possibility of giving more powers to the federating units, the states and the local government, so that the well-being of the people can improve. When that is done, there's less tension in the country. Then there's a drastic reduction in the number of Nigerians trooping out for no reason. Okay, so I think that it boils down on the fact that there's poor standard of living and people are afraid of their future. People are not sure of their future. Now again, Nigerians are becoming more enlightened, asking questions. They should hold those who have been responsible elected at the executive level. You cannot, just a minute, you cannot hold the legislators responsible. It's not
we'll have to take another break and we'll have to close this segment. I'm sure that we'll invite you again another time so that this interesting conversation can continue. Thank you very much indeed.